Boy, do we love leaks on this channel, and have I got some more exciting news for you about Broken Arrow the future and more leaks. So, this was released by someone called Cherry, call sign Yuki Mizuki. Cool. And essentially, we know for certain that these are going to be the next 3 maps in the game. Now, these are really cool, and I will take a look at these specific maps in more detail, but their location is actually very important. So, St. Petersburg, which is obviously Russia's second biggest city, or second capital city. I mean, obviously Moscow, St. Petersburg, Leningrad, all the same. Leningrad nuclear power station, power plant, which is not too far from St. Petersburg itself, and one location in Latvia, so Daugavpils. Daugavpils. I don't know. Sorry for the pronunciation. Let me know in the comments if I'm saying things wrong. All right. But these are the exciting maps, and I think, to be honest, the guy who writes this is absolutely spot on. So I think with the hotfix 1.01, there's basically been, these maps might have been in the game files or something like that, so it's kind of cheeky, because those files were big. It was a big download. It was, what, like 16 gigabytes, and you're like, that can't just be a hotfix, right? So yeah, somebody else has figured it out, and it's really quite interesting. We already know from a previous leak that I covered 4 months ago, and here it is on the screen. Feel free to check out that video. I am quite proud of it. That Rosgvardia, which is the Russian National Guard, is going to be the next Russian spec, which I'm really excited for, and it's been leaked multiple times, and we've already had a look at some of the units already, which is pretty damn cool. And it's really nice just from a lore and game story kind of point of view, because it's really cool. So obviously the campaign, for those who don't know, is that Russia invades the Baltics. Obviously NATO, aka mainly America, is already stationed in Estonia, etc., in all those countries training, and the training exercise goes wrong and a whole war erupts. So to be honest, a very plausible scenario, which is kind of scary. So let's hope nuclear war doesn't break out in our lifetimes. Or ever. Yeah, and essentially now the continuation of the campaign is going to be the American-led counter-offensive, the NATO counter-offensive, which is going to be coupled with the Baltics. And I assume that means the Rosgvardia, the National Guard, is going to be called up to defend St. Petersburg, which is the closest city to the Baltics. As a matter of fact, we can quickly have a look at a bit of Google Earth so you get an appreciation of where this is all going in the real world. So these are the Baltic states: Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and here's St. Petersburg. Obviously, the capital of Russia is Moscow. Now, the first map that I think is a perfect, really perfect location in the scenario is going to be St. Petersburg, but not the city itself, more this really cool island called Kronstadt, which is basically a fortified, it's basically a big fort, isn't it? As far as I'm aware, all these are old gun batteries, yeah. And there's the fort, yeah. Essentially, once Peter the Great built St. Petersburg, which he did from basically scratch, after they captured the territory from Finland, here's a bit of a history lesson for you. Peter the Great, as he's known, decided to build the city, and obviously to protect the city, you need to protect it from naval attack, which is why this fortress of Kronstadt was built to reinforce the entrance into the river. So a very good tactical important military defensive location. I wonder if in the mission as well we'll get those ships that we saw in other missions, with all their tomahawks and stuff like that, the destroyers and the carriers, because that'll be a really cool feature, and it'll tie nicely into the American Navy, which I think will be the next DLC, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Cool, so there we go. Here's the island. It's a bit like Baltisk, where it is bloody tiny. Very, very small indeed. I wonder how this is actually going to work as just this island here in the game. Like, on Baltisk, obviously there's hotel. Maybe that's going to be the focus with maybe a lot of the fighting in and around this area. Who knows? Or maybe just a greater, wider area. I mean, according to this, it will just be Kronstadt, but it does seem a bit too small for me to have an entire war here, because I mean, yeah, it is a very tiny, small island. But we'll see. Maybe they're just going to make it artificially way bigger, or maybe it's just going to be for a mission. Who knows? But it does seem a bit too small. Patriot Park. Cool. Anyway, but that's enough about that city. I've been to St. Petersburg, by the way, just a bit of trivia for you. Very beautiful city, and that palace is an absolute must visit if if you ever go. Not to be a tourist advisor, but that is beautiful. Anyway, I went during the Russia World Cup, by the way, for those who didn't know. The next place we want to look at is the place in Latvia. So Dugava, yeah, whatever. I think I'm good at languages, but clearly not that good. So, a small city, very Soviet blocky, looks a lot like Jelgava Pills, although that is not what the map is. A lot of similarities, though. So, a lake here, which is nice, interesting. Is that a military training area? It kind of looks it. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. Is that a military base here? What is that? Probably just a viewpoint of some sorts. Okay, not to worry. Oh, just a landmark. Fair enough. Yeah, so interesting city. Jelgava Pills, I'll show you in a second, is obviously a bit different. That's an interesting little place. Now, is that a military? It's a prison. Okay, well, that'll be a cool bit to fight over, but I assume they'll put in a few more bridges, and this whole area will be an interesting sort of fight. Fingers crossed, though, it doesn't just turn into Kaliningrad. I think actually it'd be interesting if the spawn points are like here, and you're sort of fighting either across the city or across the fields and forests with a river dividing you. I think that's a nice way to look at it. Kaliningrad, obviously, the river across the middle makes it very static, but that's because we're fighting this way, not this way. So yeah, there we go. Let's have a quick look at Jelgava Pills. I did have a quick look earlier. And we're just going to have a look at some of the similarities from that place to this one. Again, a river running through it. We're all familiar with this map. There's that train yard. Where's the airport over here? And yeah, all these crossing points. And many people have had a very hard time fighting for this part of the map, especially. I don't like that part of the map. I prefer either here or this lovely forested bit with that lovely roundabout, apart from they've put extra trees on it, weirdly. Yeah, so a bit different, and again, the river cuts across, so I hope we fight along the river as opposed to across it. Now, the last place that we need to look at was the Leningrad AES. I don't know what AES stands for, actually. I assume just some sort of nuclear power plant. Hope it's not a KBRM 95 or whatever Chernobyl reactor was. RBKM or something like that. Yeah, Soviet RBKM reactor. Rings. Good series, by the way. I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, here we go. A nuclear power plant. Now, isn't this very similar to the power plant we've already got in game? Let me pause and get back to you. No, it isn't, because that's the Leningrad power plant, and now we go to Ignalina, which is the other one in the game. As you can see, they're quite far apart. They do have a lot of similarities, I suppose. Yeah, obviously, maybe there is just a standard model of how they built these Soviet-styled atomic power plants. But yeah, we've obviously got the sea here. Bit of a different orientation. There's that village that you can have a little scrap in. A bit further away, I think, on the map than in-game, but they're entitled to have creative differences. Here's the fire breaks, so forests don't burn onto each other. Interesting, that's not in the game. But they look quite cool. So yeah, different power plants, and I do wonder, what is Broken Arrows and Steel Balalaika's obsession with nukes in the game? Very, very interesting to see indeed. But yeah, very, very cool. Those are the new maps in the game. We've obviously already know that Rosgvardia is going to be the new spec, the new specialization for Russia. And again, if you want more details about that, then the link is in the description below about all of the details that we know so far. So yeah, there we go. Really cool to see people leaking stuff. I don't have the best history with Slytherin and leaking and leakages. Woof. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. So do like, comment, and subscribe, and support me before I get into trouble again for not even leaking anything and not breaking any rules. All the best, take care, enjoy, bye bye.